I don't either. And they had a delegate assembly meeting for our state association Monday, and the number one caucus item was regional scheduling. And I heard from somebody that said it gained a lot of momentum. Like, our league is like 4 schools, 3 schools on the coast and us, and another school that's not too far from us. But they might just blow up leagues and say, hey, schedule someone that you could even ask the kids to get their own ride to the game. You know what I mean? Because they don't have a handle on transportation. And so, and like I said, I think when they look at fall sports being, everything outdoor except volleyball, and for some reason they feel like volleyball is safer than basketball even right now. So, which it could be, but I think they might punt on the winter and hold out hope for the fall.
Yep. Good morning, David.
Hey, Dave.
Morning. Hey, Dave. How are you?
They can't, the one thing, Leo, we can't do is we can't push anything further back, like without overlapping. And I think they don't want to overlap any of the seasons. We've got 3 distinct 9-week, basically 7-week seasons where there's a little bit of practice overlap, but I don't see them waiting on, if Portland and Beaverton can't start basketball till the beginning of February, I don't think they're going to push it back 4 weeks. That would go into fall, and then we go to spring or go later in the summer,
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. That would be fun to go later in the summer and compete even more with clubs.
Yeah.
So, what's going on, Dave? How are you? How's school? Actually, how's school, Amanda? Aren't you guys in school?
School is awesome.
We are.
Yeah. How's that?
It's really good, actually. I'm super impressed. Like, the class size, like when you walk by a classroom, kids are so spread out. There's plastic, like, these shields in between each. And the kids have been doing great. Like, obviously the hardest part is your football, right? Because there's so many kids. And so I feel like people think I'm the head of security and not actually what I do for work. They're going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were head of security, telling us to put our masks on every day. But no, the school piece has been really good. We've had a few kids that have had like contact with someone that was positive. So we've done like our contact, like quarantining and all of those. So it hasn't been bad. Like, it's been pretty good. The hardest part though is like, as it's getting, and it's still good, the coaches get a little more relaxed. So then you have to remind them, like, don't do that yet. Like, we haven't moved, right? We're still red, or so keep doing what we're doing. So I think that's the hardest piece, but school's been doing great.
That's impressive.
Yeah, sorry I came on late. Just wanted to say hi, everyone. Good morning.
Eric, no big deal. We're just, again, this is kind of like a self-help therapy every 2 weeks to see who. I get text messages saying I'm so stressed out I can't make them. It's like, relax, it's all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quick question. I put it on there. Are you, David? It's obviously opt-in, right? Because people have different situations.
Yeah.
That's the $1 million question on our campus right now. How and why can you not go to school in person if it's offered? And can you still go to athletic activities or theater or whatever might be?
So great question, because we just answered that one for us.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what you're.
Yeah, it was answered yesterday, so it's been something we debated for a little bit. But first of all, our school's going very well for us. I think we've only had one issue on campus, and it was somebody not even associated with athletics, and that was all taken care of, and it was fine. So, like, in general, things are great. When I was talking to my staff the other day, it's just this lack of energy on campus. That's the only thing that we've really felt that's very different, because nothing's going on other than coming to school and going to your classes. It's good that the kids are seeing each other. As Amanda said, it's like playing cop, because they all want to be around each other. They all want to be on top of each other. But it's, keep 6 feet, helicopter, get out there. But it's been working well. So that being said, we just started conditioning practices this last week. San Diego County has been really weird. They've addressed the issue. And we're different than club sports and youth sports. We're more restrictive. So it's been a little bit of a challenge, but I have only our football right now is going, and cross country. Others are now trying to figure it out, see if they're going to dip their toe in the water, see if it works. But I'll be honest with you, for the vast majority of the sports, the clubs are doing way more than we can do, and it's almost a step back for them to come in and come to school and do our restrictive protocols. So although the interesting part about it is now kids are saying, well, wait a minute, I want to come back to school, and I'll do conditioning just because they want to be around their friends, and they want to have that camaraderie that's built up within their team. So it's kind of a cool thing. Yesterday we discussed the issue of because we have a B, and C cohort. So A and B are during the day. The C cohort is those kids who've opted out, decided to stay home. And at first we were like, well, hey, if they're staying home, why would they come to campus and want to be part of a sport? It just didn't make sense to some of our administration. And after some more conversation, some of those kids' families felt that they had family members that were in situations that could be conducive to easily getting the virus and causing an issue at the house. But because they would only be going to a practice, they were only exposed to a few kids rather than 750 kids on a daily basis. So we discussed that a little bit more and saw that there was a benefit for the social emotional part of it for them to be here. And yesterday we decided that what we do is a C cohort, which is the off-campus group. They would opt into one of the cohorts, either A or B. And at that point, if they wanted to join the drama department or whatever, they had to be in A cohort. If they wanted to go to an event, which we were having kids come in, it would only be A cohort. And if they opted into B, then they would be in B. And they could not go back and forth between the cohorts. That would be their assigned cohort for the duration of this situation. So everybody was happy with it. And the kids are pretty happy that they're going to get to be on campus and do some things, some activity. Like I said, that's anything we do. So it's the robotics club to a sport. They're all the same.
Yeah, I think like everything, right? The world of self, personal situations is definitely what we're taking the approach that it's case by case. I think our faculty are just using it as an excuse to find ways to not come back on campus or find ways in the holes in the system like they always do, as you know. And I love my faculty, but like sometimes it's like, come on. But I think the one thing that we are going to put into play, and I wonder if you guys have thought about this, is what happens when you are in season, because we basically have said, okay, we'll let it go now because it's optional, it's not mandatory, you have a legitimate reason. But what happens when you have football practice? It's like, how is that any less dangerous exposing yourself to 28 or 56 or whatever amount of kids? So I think we're okay. I'm with you, Dave. I think it works now, but as I had to tell our VP for academics, I'm like, look, as we get closer, we can chat about it. But right now, if David can't make it, we're not gonna penalize him. If he can, great. Our counselors are super on our side. So I think that's been the one positive strategy and like soldier in the trenches with me is that they want the kids to be able to do something at least once or twice a week. So I think it's just this weird dynamic that people are having, to battle. But it's good to know that's still a conversation. You guys are 2 weeks into the learning. We're trying to get at it before we actually show up on campus. But it's like $1 million question between parents. Some of our kids, and I wonder, are playing games, meaning like they're playing the mental game. Like, I'm just going to stay home. It's easier to do school, but they're not doing it for a reason. So did you guys discuss that issue? Like,
Yes.
Okay. Cause that's one of the questions. We know that all our parents are going to play games,
Right.
at some point in time, or a student. Did you guys address that situation?
We did. We just found out a couple weeks ago that we had parents that have a condo down in Cabo, and they were spending all their time down in Cabo, inviting other families to come down that were in that C cohort. So that was addressed, and working on that one to the administration's working on to fix those loopholes. And if they want to be on campus and they want to do things, they have to go through those procedures.
Can I ask you a question, Leo?
Did you catch
Yeah.
any of that? Because my computer
Yeah.
flashed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave and Amanda, are your cohorts that you have during the day, do they impact your after school activities like your sports, or are those separate?
I can answer that from our standpoint. Our cohorts we can only be in cohorts. Like for instance, our football practice right now is cohort A practices on Monday, cohort B is on Thursday. Then those are even divided into, because of our county rules, that we're in pods of 12, no more than 12. So it's difficult. Like when I talk about this, you're going, man, is it even worth it? Because the kids are going to their club soccer and they're having full on practices, scrimmages.
Yeah.
And then on the weekend, they're heading out to Utah, Arizona, Nevada, playing in big tournaments. So, but it is worth it from that. Like I said, what we're learning is that the social emotional part from the parents and the kids it's more important for them to be here and be together than it is to go through a full practice.
Yeah, no, that's what's really been confusing here is the Oregon Department of Education, the Health Authority. They've said that since they're choosing to come and play sports after school, that doesn't count to the cohort number during the day. So like we're going to start up on the 26th, and the max we can have outside is 250 and the max inside is 100, but we don't have those numbers anyway, but we're going to do much smaller kind of cohorts. But that doesn't matter to what if we were in school, that wouldn't, which makes no sense to me that you can try to keep kids
right
cohorted and then all of a sudden just release them out to practice and it's all bets are off. It just
That sounds
weird.
fun.
Yeah.
How do you do contact tracing with that?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I do feel though from everybody's help so far, we've tried to do some, they're allowing you to do community building activities with your students. So we've tried to do some stuff. And I think our principal and our dean of students have come to me and said, hey, what are some of the things you have? Like I had all these, just protocols and check-in sheets and things like that. And they're wanting to now get consistent because they weren't doing those things. And it's like, well, this is what other people are doing. This is how it looks across the board, And I just think, Leo, even like you said with Utah, it's even helpful to hear and from Dave and Amanda hear how school's going, because we have no idea. Like we're just sitting out here doing online and never see the kid,
I put that question on the side, but is anybody testing? So we are
Wow.
Are you really?
in 2 weeks.
You have the rapid test or they just test?
I got not the blood. Well, you could do the blood one if you choose to, but it's just the swab, and it's 3-day results. Have an appointment at 1:00 today.
Just athletes?
Everything. Well, so here's what we did. My CFO, and I'm actually really curious because there's a lot of schools in Northern California that are doing it. And maybe the company has just kind of got their little circuit going. It's all free. It's the CARES Act. Under the CARES Act. So that was number one hurdle, as we all thought was going to be a hurdle. And we are going every other Wednesday for the next, I guess you could call it October, November. Obviously there's Thanksgiving break, but for the general population. So we actually invited all DLS families, coaches and staff, and actually even our faculty families, because it's like, hey, look, because we figured cross-contamination, potential, all that stuff. And this is the second Wednesday. That's what I'm saying. Since the last Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell you we were even doing it. We've been talking about it. And then I came up with our athletic trainers. We have reserved every other Wednesday specifically for athletics until December. Because obviously in California, Joel, that's when 12/7 is the kind of the magic date for start date. Yeah, so we're in that, and we're in that. Is it recommended, mandatory, required conversation? I can tell you, it's pretty novel because even like, you know, Chris in Utah and other people, they're not doing it. And I think we're getting closer. I think we're going to have probably in 2 weeks from now, I bet you, I mean, unless something goes sideways with these tests. But this guy's doing 300 schools, universities, all kinds of levels and businesses. So I don't see it going sideways. I'll be curious to see what the feedback is. You know how kids are, they never sign up, right? And parents forget to sign up. As of like Monday, we only had probably a quarter of our slots filled, including with our off-campus coaches. So but I didn't say anything, right? I just put out an email, backed it up. I mean, we're getting a ton of families bringing like families of 4 or 5 people in. But I created every other Wednesday, 1 to 5 o'clock, because that's, you know, most of our activities are taking place there. And so we're probably going to evolve into assigned, like, let's just say it's the football cohorts, you know, the 6 groups. You have no choice. I guess you could tell us why you're not doing it, but we haven't got there yet, right? Most families you'd think would test. It's a thing. So I actually would take it a step further. Is Jesuit High School, he was in Carmichael, they did their entire student body Monday and Tuesday. And they returned to school this week. And you can't get past like a gate without taking a test.
Wow.
So there, yeah, I think, and I was wondering if, I was wondering if Mater Dei or Cathedral, because I'm like, you know what, they're going, maybe they know something. I don't know. I'm sure you can make people get tested, of course, with contact tracing. But I mean, we're literally have a station on our campus. There's 2 nurses that were let in this morning at 7:30. They'll be there till 5:30. So we might, I guess that's where we're at. So I'm curious. So it's interesting. I do think we might be the anomaly right now.
Yeah. Who's doing it? Who's doing your testing?
They're called, I think they're Agile. Let me get the actual company name. I don't want to miss.
What did you say, Leo? Your CFO? You said something about your CFO.
Agile Force is the name of the company. Yeah, our CFO, she started it because we were looking into this. So and I've been talking to, you know, some of the Pac-12 guys and some different folks on how they're doing it. I don't think we'd ever get, the rapid testing is obviously something that we want to get to, but at the same time, the rapid testing is one of the more inaccurate ones, like readings. So who knows? 3-day results. And then you can, but again, the kicker is they don't, technically speaking, you don't have to, the HIPAA doesn't make it mandatory to tell us that you tested positive for COVID. The county has to find out.
Yeah.
But like a faculty member might not say anything for fear of losing who knows, right? A coach might not want to say it because they want to, who knows? That's why we're like, all right, let's just see where this goes. We use the term highly recommended. And that's kind of where I want to get, I'm hoping other schools try it, but I know Jesuit did. So maybe I'll try to get Hank on in 2 weeks. And you know, like I told you, I'm taking the test. Our athletic trainer took it last week and they took less than 5 minutes.
So Leo, our faculty have to be tested.
Oh,
so
they do?
We're being tested every 2 weeks. So I just went down the other day to our Del Mar Fairgrounds down the street, and San Diego Unified is paying for everything. So we're going through them, and every one of our faculty members has to be tested.
Yeah,
so
it's free money. You can do it.
A month and a half.
Yeah, tell your CFO the CARES Act is real. Like, it's not fake. The CARES Act, your insurance is paying for it, or the CARES Act?
Right now, at first, our insurance was supposed to pay for it, and our diocese has a reserve with our carrier, and the diocese became very upset that we used up the reserve. So now that the public school district here in our area, all educators are free. So we're going through that, and it's free. You just walk in, and You don't even tell them what school you're from. They just say, come on in, give me your driver's license, form of identification, and then go get it. So and there was nobody there. So it's kind of an interesting deal. So I would love to be able to get our kids to do it. We have one of our parents has developed a test that is an oral swab right now, and he has marketed it to the military. So the military is using it, and it's a less than a day turnaround. So approximately 24 hours. So it's going well for him. It's just we can't get that passed by our diocese right now to test everybody. Otherwise, we would.
Hey, Leo, if we start, workouts, do you ask your parents or can you tell your parents that if you have a kid that tests positive that participated in a workout that they need to notify you, or is that you can't do that?
Can't do that.
You can't. Okay.
Nope. It's like the whole baseball situation we had is like, I hope the honor system and quarantining takes place, but then you see him on a tweet saying, I'm going to my club baseball tournament this week. And it's like,
right.
Can you ask them to tell you?
Yeah, I mean, we have verbiage in our signups, because we do, but we haven't got there yet because technically we're still optional. So someone now we reserve the right to remove, like we had a big, I don't know if you guys had them down, I'm sure Mater Dei and Cathedral, we're very like schools, but people had fake homecoming parties. And so like in our backyards, and there was like these big pictures of homecoming 2020. And I'm like, hey, that's our water polo team. So guys, but even then you're going down a slippery slope of just of uncontrollable conversations and uncomfortable moments, challenging people's parenting, and then interpretation of county guidelines.
Right.
It gets a little, as it's gotten looser, I'm sure David and Amanda know, and Eric, as it's gotten from purple to red, a little less restrictive, it makes it even harder because every time it flips, the rules are a little more gray.
Right.
And what is really 10% of maximum capacity if someone's out? It's like, I don't know.
I was looking at something the Jesuit up here had done. They have done some workouts since like mid-September. And one of the things they said in the initial email was parents are required to contact Jesuit High School if your child participates in an activity, in a fall activity, and tests positive. I know there was another one, our trainer, the company that provides our athletic trainer said that he does club soccer. They provide trainers for that. And a girl had tested positive and the parent didn't want them to tell any of the other kids. And he finally relented, but because they needed to let those kids know. But is it something, how would you know, like if, say we have a workout and one of our, softball girls ends up testing positive, how do you know? Just by she's not there? Like what, how do you know to let those other kids know?
Well, I'll just give you mine. The county will tell you. The county's supposed to go through your contact tracing, folks.
Okay.
You just aren't supposed to be sharing that information. Like if David tests positive, he should be telling his employer.
Yes.
And everyone you've been in contact with.
And then the county will get in contact with me. They will ask me who I've been in contact with, and then they'll go through and then they'll tell everybody. They won't tell them it's me, but they'll tell them that they've been exposed and that they should be quarantining themselves.
Okay.
See, we do that in-house. So we have two people that do the contact tracing protocols. So we ask our parents, obviously ask, because we can't require, right, that they tell us if somebody tests positive or has symptoms. And it's been, everybody's pretty much been, at least that we know of. And then we contact the families, let them know to stay home and how long they need to stay home and all of that stuff.
All right. There's your gift for the day. Remember, tell my kids I love them and my friends and family I was a good dude if I leave before you guys, okay? I just take a look at that email. I just saw, it's outlined. I think for our next conversation, we can definitely talk about specifically like how people are dealing with contact tracing. And Joel, you know, you're going to get it once you start. But I mean, take a look at that testing stuff. It's a curiosity. I think I'm going to take it a step further. It's going to blow your mind. And hopefully for Amanda and Eric and David and Joel, you're a little bit out of the realm. But I do believe that we might be going down a road where we're only playing people that have protocols in place. And unfortunately, I think that might be the privates, because I understand why public sector will not do it. You know, the public sector is going to have problems. And Amanda, you know, from Carlsbad, I'm sure, like they're going to have problems monitoring masks and making people, I mean, there's going to be some people say, I'm not wearing masks. Make me, you know what I mean? Like it's so, I know that Jesuit in Sacramento was like, well, we might just, to your point, Joel, you start off with people doing sort of pod, cohort, regional scheduling. Jesuit and I are looking at, can we get 8 schools in NorCal just to schedule a season this entire year on our own in every sport?
I think we might have to actually do that. I don't think we have a kind of a choice. So I
mean, it might be the only way to play.
It might be the only way to play.
Yeah.
We were talking about that in the Trinity League too, that may have to be an option.
Yeah, and it's totally cool. You know what? If we got something other than nothing for our kids and it was safer and controlled, I think it's interesting, and that's why I'm kind of disappointed, and it's not a big deal that the others from other states couldn't make it today, but I don't know how they're getting away without testing. You know what I mean? Like they're the only, I mean, college pro, they're testing, right? So it's like they have at least something. So for me, I pushed really hard to get this done in like 3 days. I pretty much didn't sleep. You know what I mean? I just was asking all kinds of questions, all our coaches, different family members, and still don't really know if it's going to work. I mean, my common denominator is to any coach or family or student athlete is going to be, well, why aren't you testing?
Right.
Tell me what the reason is. No one has really said anything. I think some of the fear is it's coming from when coaches the last 48 hours, kids feel like they might get removed. They might, it goes back to their lifestyle choices probably aren't in alignment with what's recommended COVID protocols of living. Right. So I think they're fearful from not being allowed to get back on campus, which we would, Joel, to that point, we definitely would remove them. You know what I mean? It's just like, and we can control that. We can't control club because the club baseball team or club lacrosse team will still let them play and they won't say anything. So that's, I don't know. So hopefully that email helps you.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's the right way to go, but that's kind of where we're at today. And I think we all know with COVID, anything can change, right? So, yeah, so we have, but essentially, in short, we have weekly opportunities on every Wednesday, which is our flex day. We don't technically have an actual bell schedule. It's go get, go do whatever you got to do, go to theater, go do student leadership. So I mean, there's really no excuse the next 8 weeks. And David, to your point about faculty every 2 weeks, we haven't got there yet, but we know at least monthly. But probably now that if we could offer these, I mean, literally a teacher can just go on campus for 5 minutes, get their test. Our dean or admin can just relieve them for 5 minutes to go walk down and get their test and go back to class. So that's kind of where we're at. And I hope I have, you know what, maybe other schools we can bounce ideas off, because this is getting to be unknown territory. Yes, I'm talking to colleges and stuff, but colleges is a little bit different. And their quantities right now are way smaller. I mean, they got, you know, a Division I women's basketball team's 18 to 22 people. They can figure out exactly how to get things done, and they own their schedules, right? So this is going to be a little bit unique, but yeah, hopefully take a look at it. I mean, it's been vetted, you know what I mean, David? So it's been legally and, you know, and government and insurance wise, we wouldn't have gone this far. And today's the second day of, you know, twice in 2 weeks or 1 week. So second Wednesday, I'll be curious to see from an athletic standpoint, our plan, which is why we asked for athletics specifically, our plan is to probably make it highly recommended / required. I do believe that first week of December, we will have everyone that says they're going to try out for a sport to be tested, and probably then work out something for in-season sports for sure. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Our school might be mandatory at that point in time for everybody, so it might not be about athletics.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Take a look at it. I wasn't holding out on you. I just was like, we'll see what they think. Figured maybe.
Come on, Leo, you're holding out.
No, You got the wrong guy, but I think there is something to be said, especially in certain sports, about competing. I mean, I'm a little nervous right now if it's this easy. When I say this easy, it was not easy, but it's available to get testing. I'm not quite sure if we're going to be able to align with schools that have zero policies and protocols and sporadic athletic trainers. I mean, that's now we're evaluating who do we actually compete against. You know, we're probably better off playing Jesuit 3 times in football than 3 other unknowns that we don't know what the quality control is of their community. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's kind of freaking me out because, again, we're going to have to come into another wave of scenario planning that I just don't want to deal with.
Well, and I think if any of you have public schools and you're playing them, they may not play.
Yeah.
You know, so you may all be staring at each other going, okay, who needs a week what? And what do you need? And we'll come to you. And who's where? Like,
Amanda, that's interesting you mention that because we have in San Diego right now, San Diego Unified, which is the large, and which we're in their league, is the largest league, which is 18 high schools, 18 public high schools. They've told their families back in April that if they're not back in school, that they're not playing sports. Their superintendent came out last week or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, and said, we're not back in school till January. She didn't reiterate that January 23rd, to be exact. She didn't reiterate to her families that her former statement back in April or May was that they weren't going to be playing. So I talked to their district athletic director, and I just said, "Hey, Scott, what's going on?" He said, "We're not going back." He said, "Wait till the families understand that," and they still haven't grasped that yet.
Oh
Sweetwater Unified, which is the second largest district in our county, they said they weren't going back, and so they're for the last week there's been a protest in front of their district offices every day because now they've changed their positioning, saying, "Yeah, we're not going to go back to school, but we're going to allow sports to begin, maybe." So we have 2 of the largest districts in our county are already, and we play at least one of those. Well, all of our league games are in San Diego City, and we play at least one out of the South Bay every year. We're down 6 games right now.
Oh, well, and I think, to Leo's point, what he said earlier is, if this continues, we're going to have to start looking at filling our schedules with who we can play, and unfortunately, that's going to put public schools at a big disadvantage. But we can't continue to schedule them if they're not going to play. And if we know that all of you are playing, and you know that we're playing, at least we know we can get games and schedule each other, like just so kids can play.
Yes. Well, I think another major concern is even getting past this. Let's say we're past COVID. We will be eventually. The next big issue here in San Diego is that San Diego Unified, it was 90 million in the hole this last year. What's going to happen within the next 2 years, based on what's happened with COVID? It could be $300 million in the hole, and you already know the first things that go are the arts and athletics.
Yeah.
So we may not have anybody to play anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're lucky because at least, and I don't know about you guys, but our enrollment's kind of gone up because of everything that's going on, right? So, I mean, financially, we're not hurting as bad as they thought we would be. So at least for us, and I'm sure some of you have felt the same, we can still travel. We could still go places and play people. And so we're very, very blessed, obviously, to be able to continue to do that. But I do think it's going to come down to, what's that cutoff day? What day do we say, okay, we're not playing public schools, or we're not playing. If you don't know if you're playing yet, we've got to cut you out of our schedule and fill those games, and then how does that happen? How do we do that? Do we just break off from CIF and say we're going to have our own, or do we just say we're going to all play each other and those are our games? So I don't know.
It's just to let you know, and some probably blame or champion me for this, but the NorCal Catholic schools have really bonded together, and we meet weekly every Monday at 1:00. I would just advise, and Amanda, I don't know if you were on that call when I jumped into the Trinity League, one of your league meetings, but I think it's imperative that the regions of Catholic schools start getting together.
Yeah.
And maybe one day Eric Wood's basketball coach might play our basketball program one time, just once, and like get over it a little bit about the winner or loser. But I think there's, West Coast, we're going to lose. Okay. We get it. We understand, Eric. It's okay. We're fine.
If it was up to me, we'd be up there tomorrow.
Yeah, no, but I think I've used the term out of necessity and need. The Catholic leaguing, consortium, alignments, divisions, championship, whatever you want to call it, at whatever level, has to happen. And Dave, we're going to be on a call, I think tomorrow actually, with the CIF. I'm just kind of curious because I don't know what they're going to. How can you even?
Hey, wait a minute. I hear about it.
Yeah, how can you even get mad at anybody if Joel and the Oregon, Metropolitan Catholic schools just say we're forming our own scheduling for the next 2 years? Like, what's your rationale? COVID? And like, this is why. I mean, what are they going to say? And then it's
The
just,
public schools up here have wanted us to do that forever.
that's what I mean. It's getting to that point
So-
now where it's going to be. They're basically rolling out the red carpet for what people want, but I think now I think the public sector is going to be forced with a decision that they've always talked about. And again, I don't have a problem with public schools, but they've just put us in a position now where it's like, well, if you're not going to play and you don't want to try and you have a job, but I don't know if Amanda will have a job if she loses 100 people and David doesn't know if he'll have it. I mean, we kind of have this, all the cards are on the table that I think people knew about. And I don't think it's to be clear. I think it's a national thing right now. It's not just California. It has gone to something bigger, same topic, different location, but it's out there. And
So you're saying that Dave and I need to do a Southern California
I would,
Catholic cohort so that we can get everybody on board down here?
I mean, to be honest with you, you should just honestly, you should let David be a member of the Trinity League temporarily because he'd be another.
I'm in.
Exactly.
Be careful what you say.
Well, I mean, you guys already drive like 2 hours for a freshman baseball game anyways, right? From certain spots. And don't you leave at noon on Fridays to get to like baseball games sometimes, something crazy in traffic. Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be wild. I mean, I can tell you, I'll be curious to see what happens the next 2 months. But up here, everyone just keeps using that after January date. And I'm like, you haven't even been on campus in 6 months. So how are you going to look how much trouble we have just getting a group of 14 on?
Yep.
And we communicate. I can't even get people to commit to testing. And they trust us,
Yeah.
David, I don't know. The money's going to be an interesting situation. Speaking of which, how are the state offices for you guys? The North Coast section furloughed.
Wow.
In advance of potentially not having, talk about showing a card. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I'm like, that's not, so just to be clear, I told them, I'm not going to make the suggestion, even though I do have a voice of the board of managers for us. I'm like, why don't you just charge us $500? Get us back in like 2021 to let you ride out the next 3 months. I was just disgusted.
Wow.
With philosophy, because I'm like, people need you, not just Catholic schools. People more than Catholic schools need you now to give them some sort of information.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you could help them with COVID protocol, whatever, right? You could create Zooms, you could do things, and so they're on work reduction and furloughs, depending on what person. So
Wow.
I texted texted our associate commissioner. I had a question about when is the actual summertime start, because it's late. Like, when can I do practices for, next year and start different things? And they said, it's my furlough day. I can't talk to you. And I'm like, oh God, this is going to suck for the rest of and Joel, it could happen in Oregon, right? It's probably going to be, these are real life situations where Catholic schools are going to have to say, hey, we're doing a playoffs for football. It is what it is. Everyone put your name in the hat. We'll randomly draw NorCal,
Yep.
SoCal schools. Whatever division you want to be in, go ahead. We don't care. Like, it's fine. Just pick your division and
Who's gonna play? Let's figure out who's gonna play and put them
Yeah.
all in. You know.
yep, and just pull.
Hot and go.
It might actually be the coolest, most marketable thing in the history of.
It may be. It may
So
be.
I'm just, and I love chatting with you guys because I really fear with a future that's not in my control.
Yeah.
Hey, you could start a brand new job in the middle of all this. Oh, I did that.
Yeah, that I'm sure that's
Yeah.
out there. Like I said, I was told Joel before, I'm like, look at the new backdrop. My nonprofit guys told me to make sure I used on CNN calls. I was like, whatever, that's what you want to do.
I like it.
But I would tell you, on a national level, nobody has the answers except for fear of like having to be on their own island quickly.
Right.
But yeah, even for summertime activities, David, to clubs, I mean, I know the training league's into it. I think Joel hosts the Summer Oregon girls basketball summer tournament for Catholic schools. You're going to get Mater Dei Cathedral. You're going to get Eric Wood. And we create events that are better than club events. And they're more secure and less money and involve faith and involve dinners and camaraderie. I mean, we're on the cutting edge of unfortunately, I don't want to create have and have nots, but I don't know how you cannot protect yourself right now.
Agreed.
That's-
Well, and I think public schools realize it. I think they realize like their kids are leaving, and it's not even the public school AD's problems, to be honest. It's of them. Like they all want to get back and they want to do it too, but it's the districts and the liability, and no one wants to pull the trigger and actually
The
I don't know,
union.
put in the work. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe they just want to be safe, and so I think a lot of them are enjoying being at home and not having to deal with all this stuff, which is painful because it's not putting kids first, and so I know a lot of the public school ADs that I've spoke with, they're devastated. They're like, I want to help, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
And their admin's not listening to them. So, and it's funding and it's all that stuff, right? So
yeah. I imagine that email, even if I shared it with the entire state of California, only the privates would forward it to somebody and get a reply.
yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not hiding that email. I just, I don't need to I know one thing, it's bothering. I haven't talked to my public school buds around this week. I guarantee you it's going to bother them that we're testing. Because it's
1,000,000%.
step of why a parent would want to send, and that's selfishly, I'm going to offer everything possible to maintain enrollment and safety. So like,
And that's when we're doing off-season stuff, right? And Pete, we're getting blasted by the schools around us. Like, how are you doing anything? And I'm like, I'm telling you, we're killing ourselves making sure the protocols are followed out there. Like, this is not like we're just saying, oh, go play and ignoring everything. Like, we're killing ourselves to make sure our kids are out there.
Amanda, that's the same thing that's happened here in San Diego, and saying, how are you guys starting? And I cannot tell you how concerned our coaches are, how committed they are to making it's not this flippant, let's just throw out the ball and go. The efforts that they are putting into place, every single person, our training staff. A lot of the public schools, I just wouldn't want to even do that.
Right.
Wouldn't want to even put in that effort because they're not going to be compensated for it. And our coaches aren't being compensated for it. It's just they want to get the kids out there, and at least the social-emotional part of it is really important here,
Without
and
a doubt.
what it is for everybody else too. So,
Well, you said, David, too, earlier about how much the clubs are able to do right now. There was a huge push here in Oregon the last few years about trying to get kids back from the clubs. So for our highest classification, 6A, they changed to this practice pilot model where you could work with more than 2 kids at a time out of season and all this stuff. All this is done as literally push kids back to clubs and trainers. Like I keep getting emails from some of our incoming freshmen that I don't even know them, basketball kids, saying, hey, do you recommend a trainer that he could work out with? Because we're not able to do anything. I send drills, I do different things, but I can't blame them. But it's like, it's literally, if a club is smart right now, or a trainer is smart and has a facility and he can be safe, they could be killing it right now.
Yep.
they are in San Diego. I can guarantee you, just up the street here, they've got full on the volleyball, which is right across the street from us. It's called the Wave. The other end of the 2 miles south is Coast. They're running their full on practices, scrimmages. They are monetarily, they are just crushing it. because they're just making, and then soccer. My soccer coach said, "Hey, let's come on back and we'll make it available to you." He goes, "Why?" He said, "I own my own soccer club. I don't have time."
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And-
yeah, I mean, we all have daunting tasks. I think that's what's going to keep us all together, because I can't necessarily call one of my best friends at Santa Ramon Valley High School. I mean, they're a good school, and but we live on two different parallels in terms of, they're still trying to figure out if they can use balls, and I'm like, dude, it says shared equipment if unavoidable on the blueprint. I'm like, my district won't talk to me about it. I'm like, okay, I get it. So the fight has been basically pummeled out of them.
Yeah.
And some of our Catholic schools are struggling too. So I think that's, but I have not heard many Catholic schools struggling necessarily in enrollment right now. I feel like they're just kind of like at least making it through.
We have a mid-semester waiting list to get into school.
We do too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we took 10 for January right now.
We lost,
If we needed them, I'm sure we would have taken them today. If we had to. But
I think we lost a group of exchange students that we normally have from Japan and a few from China, but I think we made up for that with transfers from public schools, with
We did
8 or
too.
10 kids. And then our middle school, we have preschool through high school. Our middle school is bigger than it's ever been.
Well, and I think part of that though is I think they believe we'll play. I really do. I think they're like, okay, if there's any shot that we're going to play, it's not going to be with the public school. It's going to be with the private school. So what if we don't play? You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, Dave, I think that you and I probably should talk about, doing something in San Diego and Orange County-ish and figuring out if we can start what Leo's talking about, how they're doing it in NorCal, and at least starting that planning. Because if it says, like you said, San Diego's not playing and Sweetwater's not playing, what are you going to do? Right? And what are your other schools going to do down there and for up here? So I think we all just got to come together and make it happen as much as we can for the kids, for sure.
I mean, I personally envision sort of like the youth CYO look, potentially like, hey, practice, game on a Saturday or Friday. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds pretty remedial, but I just can see it happening right now.
And that gives us something.
Maybe, especially with the school and then the COVID, depending on where it goes, it's like, we have a league schedule. Everyone has these schedules, but yeah, I don't know if it's actually going to happen. I'm actually jealous of you, Amanda. You have the Trinity League. Like, honestly, I'm waiting for the Trinity League to announce, or all Catholic conferences or leagues to say, we're cool, we're good, we're just going to play each other twice and do a league tournament at the end and call it a day.
That's definitely been in the conversation for sure. But I think we have, in the Trinity League, we have people from different counties. So
Right.
we have LA County, and so it makes that a challenge because some can do stuff and others can't. And
LA County's completely shut down right now. I mean,
right. So it's like how, Bosco's in LA County again. So, I mean, I think it's going to be, and then my question is, okay, how do clubs go and do everything they want to do, but then high schools can't? Like, the protocols are not the same from the governor? Like,
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. So I've got an answer to that because I'm dealing with it right now, because that's all my parents have been asking. How are the clubs going and you're not going? And they are different because clubs, club and youth athletics is considered a business. And so the business protocols are very different from the school protocols. And the school protocols is what governs us now that we're back in school. So,
got it.
so that's
Yeah,
where, it's more stringent than when we were doing in youth protocols back in the summer. It's more stringent now under the school protocols.
Yeah.
That's
so
why
if we did it. So if we did it, we have to
it's
enter a
even
club.
worth it for you guys to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know, the CIF office, I don't know what Oregon's doing, Joel, but I mean, at some point in time, they're gonna have to say something. That's it. It's kind of like, how you want me to do I hand out pads or not? You know what I mean? Like, and are we not playing football or not? Is volleyball going to be able to be 6-on-6 or what? Can you?
See, and I don't think they're going to say that. I think they're going to say
I don't think
They're not going to.
they're going to wait till 12/7.
They're going to say it's by district. They're never going to tell someone they can't do it, I don't think. I think they're going to say it's going to be by
Well,
district. Figure it out.
Yeah. And the government's going to say, well, I guess we let the clubs do it. Why can't we let the, I mean, that's what if I'm a betting man, it's going to happen in some form,
Mhm.
and there'll be some county differences, and it'll definitely every league and section will be just upside down on who's aligned.
They haven't even,
Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, they haven't approved 5-on-5 basketball for K-12 or football, whether you're in school or distance learning up here. And it's just, it feels like that eerie silence right now where no one's saying anything, but everybody knows, like.
When do you start, Joel?
What's that?
When's your first start date in Oregon?
December 28th is the first practice date for basketball, wrestling, and swimming. But right now, like, I don't know how wrestling happens. We can't reserve a pool like for swimming because we're still in phase 1, and they haven't approved basketball yet. So it's like I feel like they're going to just, they're going to keep riding this out. But like you said, like, they've got to say something. But I feel like that's the hard part, is they're not saying anything. And then what they've done for this, we call it season 1 right now, from August 31st until December 27th, is our state association has just put it on the school districts and said, hey, whatever you're able to do and are comfortable doing. So based on your county or whatever, I could see them doing that in basketball, because all of our schools, we've got 4 of the major school districts have already announced they're not coming back till the end of first semester, which is end of January, early February. I could see them saying, hey, it's up to your school district if you want to play some games. We're not doing state, we're not doing, but it's up to you guys to do that. Because there's schools like in Central and Eastern Oregon that have played volleyball games against each other. They're doing stuff,
See, I bet you for us, and I bet you we'll play state. I bet you they're going to say who wants to play.
And then they're going to whoever's free to go.
Yeah, I think it's
to go by their
like,
counties.
okay, who's playing who, and I think the schedules that we have now are going to get just thrown out, and that it's going to be like, who can you play that's in your area? And I think that's how it's going to have to be. And that's why, if we're already on the same page and we know who we're playing as Catholic schools, and then I think we're going to be way ahead of the game, and they're going to go, oh, good, now we just put public with public. But I still think for money purposes, they've got to have playoffs in state and just say who can play.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't rent their huge venues. Maybe they pick schools and play at certain schools, so.
I mean, we're furloughed. I told you, North Coast section is furloughed. They furloughed. So there's indication.
I still have a question if we're even going to play or not at all, based on everything that I'm hearing. I've got one of my coaches, my fencing coach, is a emergency room doctor at his hospital, and he is now oversees all of COVID. And he's saying he doesn't see any change. He goes, we're no closer to anything from April 1st to now. And he said, until a vaccine comes out that is legitimate, and they use that term, he said, we're here for another 4 months before anything begins to change. And that's if they have a vaccine that can. He said, and I'm not taking the vaccine. He goes, and I'm pro vaccine. He said, I don't see any way forward from where we currently are at. And so, there's the big question is, are we going to be able to play? And I've got that concern. And I used to be the most optimistic person in the world, but this is getting to a point where this is ridiculous. It's very hard to look at this. And I just spoke to him the other day, last Wednesday, and it's disheartening at best to see that we're planning for all of this. Yeah. And I've talked to the state office guys, and I've talked to our section. There's no way there's no way forward. They're not giving any information that would even lend us to believe that there's a plan in place that's going to happen, that is going to happen. They're waiting for the governor. Basically what I got is they're waiting for the governor that's going to tell, Ron Nichetti at state, and then Ron Nichetti sends it out to all the section commissioners, and then they have to ask their county health advisor how they can proceed. That's about as detailed as a plan as I got out of them.
Wow.
My biggest fear, Well, I got lots of fears, but one of them is if they make every school have to make a decision, the private sector is we already know what decision everyone's gonna make, Catholic or not, in the private sector. If you ever allowed back, technically, if you're not a good standing member in the CIF or your state governing body, they technically remove you. So if Del Salle goes, you know what, guys, we're out, we're gonna play these 8 schools, we're gonna create our own rules, get our own officials, we're fine. Will they let us back? I think they would, because we would have a rationale of like to why we're leaving, but I don't know if we'd ever go back. So that's, I think we would say, hey, we controlled our season of sport. We knew we played a couple Sunday lacrosse matches because it worked out at 3 o'clock after mass. And, it was like, why? I could already see it happening.
Can we just go to Utah and play? Can we just decide like every Friday we just drive to Utah?
Yeah, I would.
And we all just play in Utah every Friday.
It's
Or Vegas. We go to Vegas.
Yeah, Nevada,
Raiders Stadium, and
I would imagine like Gorman would be calling you guys because they don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah. Well, but they start,
Nevada.
but they're starting. They're different season than we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, trust me, we had that conversation, and they're a different season. So. And
that's where I think you're always going to come back to, will the Catholic schools align and just move on in life?
Well, and that's why I laughed at him, and I go, okay, so you're a different season, which means I can use your field for our season and just come to you every Friday so we can play.
Yeah, and you guys, it'll be crazy. Well,
yeah.
Hey guys, I got a 9 o'clock, another Play Like a Champion Notre Dame clinic to go to.
Oh, fun.
So.
Right, Eric.
I will.
Good to see you. Well, it's 9 o'clock, guys. Anyways, we've always kind of limited it to an hour just to catch up, and I'll just keep setting every 2 Wednesdays. Whoever shows up, invite 10, 15 people. But yeah, I'll let you know how testing goes. I just saw an email from my CFO saying the testing company's not prepared or something, but who knows? Now all of a sudden we're into testing protocols. It's like, oh Jesus, it's just.
Hey, all right. Take care, guys.
But having on-campus testing, I think is, I don't know, man. It's kind of freaked me out the last 72 hours, but it's going. So I guess we'll do it. I'll let you know at 1 o'clock. Text me. I'll let you know if the hardest thing I hear is the paperwork for the students, because they just have to download all the information, complete it, copy of their medical card. But if that's it, if that's as hard as it gets, I don't know why people wouldn't do it.
Right.
Leo, I don't think I have your number either.
That's the
cell.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that's hard.
I'll send it to you right now.
Putting together stuff to just start up. We haven't done anything since March, and I'm looking at the NFL and college, and talking to a friend of mine that's a college basketball coach, and they're testing, and the NFL's testing every day, and they're still getting cases. It's like, we're not doing anything. How do we?
Right.
It's like flying blind, really.
Well, it looks like you'll be able to get some money to fly down to California to play on a regular basis.
Come on down here. We need something January 8th.
Yeah.
No problem. We'll lock you in a bubble in the Santa Ana.
I'll give you Jesuits' number. That'd be a better game for you.
Hey, at this point, I don't even care. Like, we'll play half our team. I don't even care. Like, we just want to play.
We left a bunch of holes in all our schedules, including football. We have 2 weeks to play. I just figured something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna say they have a positive test, and
I think it's gonna get blown up anyway, and we're all gonna be winding up playing each other. I do think that's probably gonna happen. If there's any shot of playing, like Dave said, I think that's the only option we have in playing, to be honest.
Yeah, and I even think March 15th, Joel, or your second season, the spring sports in my mind they got a good chance to. Like, who's gonna not play golf this year by March? Right. I don't know if the public schools will be in play, because they're just gonna say not. They would never. I mean, Amanda, you would know better than I. They would never just let one sport go, right? So
no way. Why they would.
Although
what's interesting here. Go ahead, Dave.
San Diego section, they're actually, when I talked to them the other day, when I'm asking what the protocol is going to be to get back, they said, "Oh, we're also going to discuss going just having a few sports at a time back." And I said, "That's the first time I've heard that. When did that happen?" Because originally it was no, we're playing. If we play one, we're playing them all. So it was interesting.
Yeah,
Change-
and to me, I think that's ridiculous because why couldn't you do a track meet with?
You're open up Pandora's box when you do that. They're saying
Yeah.
one sport's more important than the other. And then it's no, like if you're not going to do them all, then don't do any. I mean, I just don't think you can. So but
Crazy
hey,
here.
I did hear that Joel is going to host all the barbecues when we play in Utah. So
Sure. Sure.
I'll bring the Cardiff Crack tri-tip from Cardiff
Right.
with me.
Yeah,
It'll be like game day.
They don't even understand what that is, Amanda. They just
Part of
don't even
track?
know what this is.
Oh,
That's
they,
it.
they will. See, and once we all play each other and we do that,
You know
well,
what's crazy here is the public schools like in Portland Metro, they've been on shutdown. You know, they're can't do anything. But like we have schools on the coast that we play, and then schools in like Eastern Oregon, like public schools, they're like full go. Like it's like, I mean, and a lot of them like in Tillamook where we play on the coast, like they think that COVID's going to end on November 4th. Like they really honestly believe that. And it's like they're business as usual. Like, hey, we're doing our thing, you know, and they just haven't seen the cases. They get, you know, one case, you know, maybe one a week in their county. And so that's what I think is so hard because we have so many schools in Portland and in that metro area that have just been on lockdown, really, you know.
that's what's crazy about LA is there's so many people, and I don't know how they're ever going to get to red
Yeah.
LA County. So
Well, thank you guys. This is really
All right.
helpful. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Let me know. We'll be in touch, and then we'll talk to you soon. It's always good to catch up, trade notes, but hopefully we're all wrong. Hopefully the world returns and it's all.
Yes, I hope I'm
I hope so.
absolutely wrong.
Yeah, it's
All
the
right.
one time I want to be 100% wrong.
yeah,
Exactly. Thank
agreed.
you.
All right, well,
All
take
right,
care.
guys.
I'll be in
You
touch.
guys.
Sounds good.